Aloha, everyone. You are joining the Native STEAM Across Indian Country session. If you could just maybe in the chat let us know you're there, let us know where you're joining us from. We just want to sort of take a moment to let everybody get into the session. Hey, Julie, are we following each other around during this OIE PD meeting? I looks like I'm lucky to have you in a lot of our sessions. Hi, Christopher. Thanks for joining. Again, if you're just kind of getting in, getting your audio settled, if you could let us know where you're joining us from in the chat, that would be great so we know that everybody is kind of coming in. And we'll give a couple minutes to get started. Wasn't that an amazing keynote session? Such a wonderful and inspiring speaker and Native woman. Yeah. Hi, John. Thanks for joining. Again, we're going to just let everybody get in. Hi, Allison. Glad you could join. And Tiffany, hello. Again, if you just take a brief second to go into the chat, say hi, let us know where you're joining us from, and then we'll get started in a little bit. Maybe just sort of take a moment to have a sip of water, maybe stand up if you haven't stood up yet today. Oh, yes, hydrated face, yes. And I've been using this big bottle of water to sort of hydrate myself through these sessions, especially when you're talking so much. Okay, looks like people are joining and letting us know where they're calling in from or joining us from in the chat. We'll just give a couple more seconds and then we'll get started. Also, you just might want to take a moment to just sort of process that keynote speech. Uh, Let it sort of resonate and move down through your thought process. We have a really exciting session to share information about some work that's happening on the ground as it relates to native STEAM. Okay. Again, if you're joining us, just go ahead and put in the chat. Let us know where you are joining us from, and we'll go ahead and get started. But first, let's get disclaimed.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
All right. Now that we've gotten disclaimed, let's move on to who's going to be presenting today. Aloha, I am Olani Lily. I am the Senior Curriculum and Technical Assistance Specialist at Synergy Enterprise Incorporated. We have the wonderful blessing and opportunity to be able to work with the Office of Indian Education and all of their discretionary grantees. It's been definitely a pleasure of mine to be able to work across the country with both Native American and Alaska Native people. Also, we will be sharing a presentation created by Marley Mansfield Chavez. Unfortunately, she's not able to make it today, but I'll be trying to do my best to share the great presentation that she was able to put together regarding her work with the Blue Lake Rancheria. Also presenting, go ahead, ladies, you can go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is Rita Locklear. I am a member of the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina, and I was the Project 3C director. I've worked with 2 previous NYCP grants, and now we have the ACE grant, Project Indigichoice. So it's wonderful to have the opportunity to be with you.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. My name is Gwendolyn Chavis, and I serve as the Project 3C Director at the Lumbee Tribe, retired educator, but still wanting to give back to my community and to the students in our counties. And I'm glad to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you both for joining and doing the work of putting together this great presentation to share your organization's work. So for today's session, our objectives are to be able to differentiate between native STEAM and sort of the general idea and notion of STEAM, as well as to learn innovative native STEAM ideas to use in your own program. But before we get started in sort of on the ground program work, I did want to take some time to really look at both the definition of STEM and STEAM. STEM is a teaching approach that integrates 4 disciplines: science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's really one of the key, I guess, elements of STEM is that it's cross disciplinary program. And so the idea really is to break down the silos between science, technology, engineering, and math. And then we had the, I guess, the creation of like STEAM. STEM and STEAM. STEAM, which adds in the arts. And so this is an approach to learning that uses science, technology, engineering, and the arts and mathematics as access points for guiding student inquiry, dialogue, and critical thinking. Again, wanting to break down the silos around science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And when we talk about arts, it could be anywhere from, language arts, whether it's writing or reading, whether it's in English or in your native language. Also through the arts of song, dance, even functional arts that are traditional to a culture. All of those A sort of aspects. Let me see. And then we want to sort of think about what is native STEAM and how is it maybe different from what is the general STEAM. So really, when you look across research and information that's available regarding native STEAM, one of the key aspects is that it's learning framed within local knowledge. And it is in relation to local practices, land, and place-based ways. It can enhance the relevance and meaning of STEAM for Indigenous students and their communities. So that's sort of what really differentiates native STEAM from sort of your general STEAM. And so one of the things our presenters contributed to was sort of a discussion about really what is the purpose of native STEAM. And so here are some of the purposes that they were able to share. Native peoples mostly see learning in a holistic manner. And so really, STEAM is really an ancient or cultural sort of method because, in the past and through ancestral education, there really weren't siloed content areas. The purpose of the native STEAM is to communicate to both internal and external stakeholders the closest model of native education. Additionally, native STEAM helps to break down stereotypes and increase representation within the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math fields. It helps to prepare native learners to engage in future careers. and broaden the interpretation of STEAM to include traditional practices. So let's get into sort of seeing and sharing the on the ground work happening as it relates to native STEAM. And so this is going to be my best sort of sharing about, again, this great presentation that Marley. So please, I'm stepping into some big shoes. And so please provide me some grace. And hopefully I will be able to do a little bit of justice to her wonderful presentation. And so Blue Lake Rancheria's Pathmaker program began as a demonstration project aimed at creating and distributing native STEAM curricula to Native American students in Humboldt County. What began as a lofty goal almost 4 years ago has turned into being its own being entirely. The native, excuse me, the Pathmakers program was designed as a collaborative effort, and they meet with steering committee monthly. This steering committee includes members of their tribe, two local higher education institutions, that's Cal Poly Humboldt and the College of the Redwoods, the Humboldt County Office of Education, and 2 out of 31 school districts, Northern Humboldt Union High School and Eureka City Schools. While Pathmakers is a relatively new program in Humboldt County, the idea of creating Indigenous written curricula rooted in the traditional ecological knowledge and STEAM is a new concept. Early in their work with Pathfinders, they found many tribal partners doing similar work, and they've been working to collaborate with as many partners as possible for this process. Over the course of the Pathmakers program, they have partnered with numerous agencies and organizations to infuse the Western STEM and the traditional ecological knowledge. While they know that Native STEAM and Western STEM are not mutually exclusive, it's the outlook with which they view the interconnectedness of everything that separates the two. Before starting this journey into STEAM education, they had never identified these sciences. Growing up, Marley was always the artsy, creative kid, but the second arts were introduced into STEM. Everything made sense for her. She wanted to help bring that clarity and excitement to other students, and that's really been the heart of her work. They are able to achieve their goals by way of 3 main components: their mobile makerspace van, family maker nights, and community outreach events. As you can see here is their mobile makerspace van. It's diesel. It has in hopes of in the future becoming biodiesel or electric conversion. And it's a mobile classroom as well as a marketing tool. They also have Family Maker Night virtual events. Excuse me. And here's some of the, uh, I guess, flyers and information that they've shared. It's a multi-level place-based learning, contracts with local Indigenous scientists, youth, makers, and elders. 20 plus maker kits have been distributed monthly. Wow. And inherently collaborative work. And so I know, like during the pandemic, there was a lot of work going around to get those packs out. And so let's move. They also have community outreach events, maker workshops for grades 6 through 12 during after school hours. And these are some of the items that they were able to. I want to go ahead and share a video with you. So let me just take a moment to reshare, get here, and then alrighty, and let's go ahead. Can you folks all see my video? Awesome, so I'll go ahead and play it.
doubled over here, what would it be called? What's that design called?
We are descending from a people that were very skilled makers, from basket makers to carvers. All of these things are very, very rich traditional arts. If you look at our carvings, if you look at our mush paddles, if you look at the spoons, something will be common about them, but you'll struggle to find two that are exactly the same. And as an artist, I find that just the most amazing thing. What I like about teaching mush paddles is that it also, besides it being traditional art, carving, working with our hands, it's a connection to traditional foods. We go up in the fall when the tan oak acorns come down, usually after the first storm, then we go out and we gather. The first fall of the acorns is for all the animals. So that's that connection to food, and the way that we all believe around here is that first fall of the acorns is for the animals. I think relating back to the old way of thinking, that we had a spiritual connection to all of our food. You know, we had that sort of that intimacy with it, and that's the part that really needs to be taught today. So, you know, kind of to reiterate, when I can, I like to use these workshops as a sort of a time to, you know, teach that part of it. You know, so we came here to carve, but with that, we're going to connect to this. And oh, hey, there's this old story that so and so told me, and it's about that. You know, so that's sort of my objective when I do these classes, is that you know, there's a lot of other knowledge that'll come along with it. They're important because it's an opportunity for the Native students to have alliance and to realize that there's others out there and they have each other. And I think a program like this sort of solidifies that, is that they're actively doing something together. And the feeling I get from it, what I really like about this, one of my big takeaways, is that it brings back a little bit of village, that village part of living. It's like we're all here doing something very much in common. We're doing the same thing, working on our own project. So we're all chatting. We don't have to be talking about the mush paddles or carving, you know, but we're talking. We're interacting with each other.
How wonderful. Let me get back to my presentation.
I predict a historic event in 2022.
Shucks. One moment. All right. Okay, and so also another of the community outreach events was around Kindling the Flame. This was in partnership with the California State Parks and Culturally Yurok folks who are state park employees. It was really a project around cultural revitalization and career exploration, intergenerational and intertribal learning, rooted again in the traditional ecological knowledge and sovereignty. Okay, before we move on, I just sort of want to, I've been on different screens, so I'm just going to take a pause and I want to see what's going on in the chat. And I was wondering maybe if you could just maybe throw in the chat some of the, maybe the science, technology, engineering, arts, or math that you saw being shared in that last video. And then I'll move forward and then I'll come back and check on that chat. Another part of community outreach events is their internships. And so they have internships that are available in the areas of media, digital arts, building and trades, agriculture, natural resources, as well as hospitality and tourism. One of the key things, if you've ever participated in maybe a talking circle or another TA webinar, and you'll hear this from Marley and from Allison as well, is that they really value their partnerships, and so they try to reach out into all different parts of their community to establish partnerships, whether it's creating internships or connecting to elders or cultural practitioners, the university, as well as with their school districts to be able to collect student data in order to better inform their programs. And so they're definitely an organization that is interested in both maintaining and building partnerships to benefit their students. All right. Okay, so hope I did a little bit of a job and sharing what's going on with Blue Lake Rancheria and Marley's presentation. And we can now move on to the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina.
Okay, greetings from Lumbee Nation. Again, I'm Gwendolyn Chavis, Project 3C Director. And a little bit about the Lumbee Tribe. The Lumbee Tribe is the largest tribe in North Carolina, largest tribe east of the Mississippi River, and we are the 9th largest tribe in the nation. Tell you a little bit about our grant, Project 3C, Connecting Community, College, and Career through STEM. Our goal is to provide American Indian students in our Lumbee Tribal Service area, which includes 4 counties that we work with experiences and skills necessary to develop their self-efficacy, increase congruence between their interests and career choices, and broaden their college and career opportunities, of course, in the areas of STEM. Families and tribal communities are also involved and empowered to provide a supportive and informed environment that promotes student choice, success, and career exploration. Our target population are American Indian students in the Lumbee Tribal Service area of Cumberland, Hoke, Robeson, and Scotland counties. Next slide, please.
As we looked at writing this grant, certainly STEM was involved with that, but we had 4 partners that we worked with. They'd been partners with us in a previous grant, and we continued to work with that group. That provided us access to so many resources that we would not have had the opportunity to have worked with. And so we are very proud to let you know that our STEM program starts with the program itself and the staff members that we chose to work with that. We're fortunate that we live in a community that we could provide Native teachers for all of our programs. Everything we did, whether it's local camps that where we traveled, businesses and community close by, communities and agencies away from our area, whether it's a state or a national agency, we were able to tap into tribal members all across the country. So that gave us a great opportunity to have the Native staff that can bring back that local knowledge, that cultural knowledge, and embed that into the programs that they do with our students. They have, for instance, with the university professors, they're very knowledgeable in their particular area, but because they're Native, they were able to bring in some of the community areas. For instance, one of our professors studied the river. He was an environmentalist. He worked with the university on campus with some things there, but he reached out to us and we utilized him to do work with us with our river. The Lumber River runs right through our county. It's a big piece of our life, has been for so long. And that university professor brought the students over to the river. They sampled the water. They did all kinds of experiments with the water, the ecosystem, because we had lots of flooding in our area due to 2 hurricanes. They went back there and took additional samples to see what changes had happened with the system as it was before and after the flood. So they've studied that river, and he also was able to talk with them about how important the river was to us in life. That river provided us the physical things that we needed. It fed us because the fishing was very important, and we fished from there and got many foods from there. It watered our agricultural gardens and systems that we had, and also it provided us exercise because many of us swam in that river. And we also were able to spiritually be cleansed in that river because many of our churches still use that river for baptism. So it's been a very important part of our life. So as the teachers that have worked with us, they've done something very similar to what the professor did. They were able to bring that local knowledge in and share with the students the history and culture of the things that we have right here in our area that were so important to us. So many things were offered through that. So we have teachers, again, the professors are at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. We have professors over at our community college. The companies and partners that we work with, you'll hear about. A lot of those companies are owned by our own Native people. And as the pandemic hit, we realized we could reach out even further. And we began to discover some of our own Native people from our region who were working in companies all across the United States. We tapped into that resource, brought them in, and they told their stories as well. And they were able to share information with those students about their culture and history as they worked with them each day during the programming that we did with them. And then again, we're fortunate. All of our staff at the tribe are Native, and even the folks that we work with and hired over the university and at the community college are all Native instructors and teachers and folks that help carry out our grant. So we're very fortunate to have that opportunity to have that involvement with our Native STEM program. Next slide.
Ms. Rita mentioned our Project 3C partnerships, and these actually have been partners when we did Project Access, and some of them will be partners as we do our new grant, Project IndigiChoice. But we've been very fortunate over the past several years to have developed these awesome partnerships with different entities that can enhance the STEM programming that our Project 3C grant provides. We utilize these partnerships through collaboration for our STEM programming. And again, Ms. Rita mentioned that, a lot of the folks that work in and around these particular partnerships are Natives. They help us with our STEM programming. They provide guest speakers, field trips, and some of those field trips have been virtual, and they've done virtual presentations for us as well during 2 hurricanes and a national pandemic. Just to name a few of the partnerships that we have, of course, our larger partnerships are the University of North Carolina at Pembroke, and we'll share with you the programming that they do, as well as Robeson Community College and the public schools of Robeson County. We're very fortunate to have a university right in Pembroke, which is, I guess you would say, the hub. That's where our tribal office is located. We have a university there. And we also have the community college, which is about 10 miles down the road. We'll tell you more about these partnerships later, but this list that you see here that's on the screen right now, these are collaborative partners who have unselfishly provided excellent STEM opportunities for our Native students. We were able to enjoy informational field trips, live and virtual presentations, guest speakers, hands-on activities, all through the concerted efforts of these partnerships. And of course, this is just a few of them, and we continue to add to this. Our grant, Project 3C grant, ends this year. This is the last year of the grant, but we will continue to reach out to different partnerships as we find them. The North Carolina Community College Bio Network, having come from the community college system, Bio Network has provided programming for our own Robeson Community College, and they were anxious to reach out and help us with our partnership with Project 3C, both virtual and coming to our campus. We've also taken our students to the Moorhead Planetarium at UNC Chapel Hill, go Tar Heels. We've also had a partnership with Campbell's Soup, which is a local industry right outside of Pembroke, and they have, I'm sure all of you are familiar with Campbell's Soup. They took our students on a tour and showed them the operations of that facility and talked to them about job opportunities, career opportunities there. And as a result of that as well, our students were all given backpacks full of Campbell's Soup goodies. And I mean, they were filled with lots of Campbell's Soup goodies. We've also had a virtual partnership with Verizon, but we do have native contact there that helps us with programming. Emerging Technology Institute is a local native-owned business company where they provide coding opportunities that they did for our camps, as well as drone demonstrations that they would come out and do for our students. We've also taken field trips to the FBI. We have native contacts at the FBI. They got to tour the FBI lab and get to see how evidence is brought in, how it's managed, the process, what happens during that whole process. Stanley Dentistry is another one of our partners, and they have provided opportunities in the science area and medical field to show the process of dentistry. And again, that career opportunity. Cisco has done virtual programming for us in the technology area. Cummins Aerospace is one of our newest partnerships, and Ms. Rita will share more information about that with you, but it's located in Huntsville, Alabama, and the owner is a Native American Lumbee woman, and we're excited about that. And our students will be taking a field trip there this summer. They did last summer, and they're going back again this summer. Microsoft has been a partner with Project Access, Project 3C, and will be with Project IndigiChoice as well. And they have done programming both virtual and face-to-face. We actually have a camp that's Microsoft is going to be a big part of that camp this summer. And Ms. Rita will tell you more about that. IBM, we have local natives that we contact with IBM to help strengthen that partnership. They've provided programming for our students. Dr. Rita Hakovich's B project at UNCP has been phenomenal. She actually came out to one of our family STEM days that we had and set up all of her bee activity. We have a lot of bee activities and a lot of bee farmers, I guess you would say, in our communities. And the Robeson County Planetarium, we are very fortunate to have our very own planetarium in Lumberton, North Carolina, which is about 10 miles from us. And our students have got to participate in programming that's being held there. And Biogen of Raleigh has also been one of our partners. So we are very pleased with our partnerships. That they have been part of the life of our grants because they've helped us with the programming. We reached out, and oftentimes it's just asking, and they'll be willing to do what they can to help with that.
And I wanted to mention with our partnerships, these are just some of the bigger companies. We do have almost verbal agreements, nothing in writing. But we have a lot of Native folks who work and come in to present workshops and sessions for us, just as you do. that work for other companies that don't necessarily provide workshops and sessions or work with us with the camps, but they come in for a day or an evening and do presentations for us. Saturdays, we have presentations with girls. So there are others that we can name, but these are some of the bigger ones that we have. And the universities, we just have this wonderful relationship with the universities, the one that's right here with us, but we can drive to so many North Carolina universities within a couple of hours. And so a lot of our camps have been where we would take the students up to, with the medical camp, they were at 3 different universities during that week, and they were at East Carolina, listening to the physicians, talking to them, went to the cadaver room and looked at all of that. Exciting, interesting, and just really great presentations from those folks. And that's a blessing that we have that. And I know that's not where everybody doesn't have that opportunity. But also, as we've reached out to these companies, we've realized that many of your large companies have a diversity section to their company. They're very interested in working with, for instance, our Native group. And when I called and asked for who can help me with this, do you have a diversity division within your company? They sent me to somebody, and that person is some of the people that helped us really get things going and rolling with these programs. So a lot of our larger companies invest funding and money into that. If you're interested in working with a company like that in your region, that may be the way you want to touch base with them. But we also have had so many Native people working with these organizations that we've also reached out to them, and then they reached out to that division within the company. And that's how Microsoft came on board with us. He has now reached out to that committee, and they're offering their assistance to help set up our week-long camp that the students will be participating in. So think about not only federal agencies, but the companies that you're circling around you in your state and your region, and talk to those people and those divisions that could help us with that. I will share with you that IBM has been a partner even when I was the director for Indian education for us for several years ago. And they reached out to me. I didn't even know that this division was there. They gave me a call. One of the guys was from our area, and he said, "How can we work with your Indian education program? What can we do?" This was before any of the grants were out there. And I said, "Well, what can you do?" He said, "You tell me. We've got funding. We want to spend. We want to do some things with the Native students in your area." So we put together a small plan on what we could do, and that began that partnership with them. They came down and did workshops for our NASA clubs and ACES clubs. We went to Raleigh, which is an hour and a half away, toured their facility, spoke with their engineers on campus. They had a panel discussion with all the Native people that work there. Those are some of the ideas that I went back and we integrated into some of the programming that we do. So not only did the partners come in and help provide the workshop and program, but they're speaking to the students about their pathway. How did I get to this place? What is this career like? What do I recommend that you do as a middle school student or a high school student if this is an area you're interested in? Where can you go to school? So these are the answers, and we ask each group as they come in, provide this information to the students. We wanted them to share those kinds of things with the student as well as to their path to getting into a job and a career with IBM or Microsoft. So that's been a great way for our students to see that. And then at the end of our camps, many of our camps, the students, whether they're the younger ones, the first through fourth graders or and up, almost every camp, we had some sort of presentation about one of the careers that they saw or a career that they're interested in. And they did their own art project and presented their own piece at the end of the week about that career and why they were interested or why that would be the career, if they could choose one, that they would be interested in. So those were the kinds of activities that each one of the partners we tried to integrate into the programming as we look, because the career piece was very important to us. The college piece was important, but we wanted each kid to have that own vision for themselves as to, if I want to do this, how can that happen? And I will tell you, one of the students, when we visited one of the universities, we went to one of our technical colleges, and it had a funeral director was one of the jobs that was there. And two of the students came back, and I thought this might not be something the kids are interested in. I don't know if we want to do this. And there's a lot of science that goes into that kind of work. But when the kids came back, we did an evaluation. I looked at it and I said, who is this student? I found him. I said, tell me why you want to be a funeral director. I found it so interesting that we had two students that wanted to do that. He said, I think that's the most interesting thing in the world that you can do. And just imagine working with a family, and that's the last thing that you do for their family member. So I thought that was such a interesting view from a student as to why they wanted to do that kind of work. He really was interested in working with families as they go through that. But that's just a few of the things that we've been able to do with the partners. Let me share in detail with the next slide a little bit about our partnership with the university. University of North Carolina, Pembroke was a university that was built by American Indians. We requested the money from our state. They gave us the funding to start our own university. And the purpose for that was to educate our own American Indians from our communities to become teachers. So that's how we began. And this university is now one of the universities in the UNC system. So when you see any of our universities with UNC attached to that, we're part of that system currently. So there are partners with Project 3C. We had 2 staff members that worked on that campus. And I will say to the OIE staff that one of the things that I'm glad we're going back to NYCP grants, because in the end, you're going to see one of the lessons that we learned is you have to have some staff members that are out there working to develop camps, to develop programming for you, to follow it through, to find the right people. There is a lot of work in doing these grants, and everybody out there will say to you that one of the most important things that we could say is we need to make sure we have staff that can help do that. 1, 2 people can't run the programs like we're running and do it successfully. So this partnership, we did have staff members, a full-time and a part-time person that work at the university that developed all of these programs that we have here. The residential camps, the ones we're doing this particular summer, you'll see the Journey to the Great Beyond. That's with Cummins Aerospace. And she not only, I'll share with you a little bit about her. She's not only going to do that, but I'll share in a minute a little bit more about what she's going to be doing as we think about these partners and what more can they do for you in your community. So it's not just this summer, it's other years that we're going to be hopefully in partnership with her and our community. Healing the Next Generation with STEM and Allied Health. That university has a nursing program, but they're also reaching out to the other universities that have other health programs, and students will be participating in that. I'll share a little bit about the DC camp with Indigenous STEM and exploring and restoring our earth and STEM. On the right-hand side, you see that this particular camp at the university, they have the financial aid embedded in there, the college preparatory piece. How do you get here? What does that look like? And they do their own personal essays there and make sure that kids leave with that information at the end of the camp. They discuss the career skills, what you're going to need to be, if this is the area you're interested in. When they look at these camps, it's the area you're interested in, and what do you need to do to build that from the high school level all the way into college before you get into that career. Test taking tips are part of that, and the strategies there. So there's specialized folks on campus that come in to talk about that with our students. We have residential camps where the students stay on campus there and get a taste of college life. We certainly love that opportunity. And they are still close to home because most of the kids live right here. So it's not far, but it's far enough away for them to be away from mom and dad for a week. We work with Club iSTEM. We've called it Club iSTEM. It's our 1st through 4th grade students, and we introduce those STEM careers to them. We could not find a video that we had done that we could find the parent, so we could get permission to do the video, Ms. Alani, but we had multiple videos that were done with these students, especially when we were in virtual camp. and the activities that they were a part of. A couple of slides, you may see some of the students with their projects that they did that were virtual projects where we bought the materials, sent it home. But Club iSTEM had a great, these kids enjoy that hands-on work that they do. Teachers from our native teachers are just phenomenal. It's been a great opportunity to introduce STEM in those early grades. Our Indigenous Girls STEM program, that was Saturdays, just one day. They're 6th through 8th grade girls. And again, all of these folks that we utilize are coming from our communities to talk about some of those STEM careers that we have there. And the reason we went with that is because of our girls are not reaching out. They're not the ones who are looking for STEM careers. And we wanted those girls to realize that these careers are for you too. And it's not that difficult to get into these careers. But if you like what you see, this is a path you may want to take. So with those camps, we brought in women, our female Native women, to help do the camps, and the students were exposed to them and their career. I remember one of those was Underwriters Laboratory. She lives in Raleigh, which is a couple hours away, but she is an electrical engineer, and she was there for the day. So family STEM nights, those are very important to us. We go out into communities. We've done multiple family STEM nights in the communities. We've done some of those in our schools, and certainly we do as well. We have those that are because of the pandemic, we didn't get to do as many as we wanted to. So we just, at the end of the year last year, we did the biggest STEM day we could do, and it was over the Culture Center, and it was all during the day. We set up all the tables, and the teachers were spread out all over the place. It was outdoors, just thank goodness. It was a beautiful day, and it was one of the most wonderful events because we finally got to see one another for the first time. And that turned out really well, and that was a family STEM day. We also have provided culturally responsive STEM training for teachers. At the beginning of their math and science training that we were doing with them, we have an online STEM training that they could go to, and that was required that they go to before we started that STEM training with those teachers. So that's one of the ways that our university's been working with us. And then next slide, Ms. The journey to the great beyond that we mentioned, Cummins Aerospace and the camp that they're going to do. We do a lot of publicity for these camps, put it on Facebook, on our websites. The university has it on theirs for the students to go in and register for that. We go out to schools and talk to students. Our Indian education program is really helpful in getting the information as well out to students. But this is our second year. The first year, the activity was much shorter there, but this year it's been expanded. She wanted to bring it in and let the students be there a little bit longer so that they could really get more experience working with the engineers there. Sheila is the owner of the company, and she works for contracts with NASA, those large companies like that. She's been here recently, and as I shared with you, she has loved the activities she's done with our students in our area, and she now has committed to do a middle school camp for 50 students, and that will be free to students for middle school. She loved the whole idea of what's been happening with these camps, and she wanted to do something to expand that. So that's what we're doing with Cummins Aerospace. Next slide. The camp with Microsoft, that is an extension. We begin with IBM and FBI in DC. Microsoft, one of our young men from our tribe heard about that, and he was very interested in developing something that would bring in Microsoft. So his company has agreed to sponsor this camp for us this summer, and we'll be taking students there. We're fortunate we can drive to DC, so it's not like we have to fly. We can actually drive students there. And this is an exciting opportunity. Again, we've been out to schools in our community. They've all helped us think about how to find students and make sure we fill these camps up. But we're excited about that relationship with Microsoft. IBM will be working with us as well as Verizon this summer for that camp. Our Robeson Community College Partnership is, Ms. Gwen, is that you?
I can do it if you want me to.
Go ahead.
Robeson Community College, of course, I have a love for Robeson Community College. I spent 19 years there prior to coming to the Lumbee Tribe, and they've always been good partners in outreach efforts across the county and working with different agencies, but they've been an excellent partner to the Lumbee Tribe, to Project Access. I retired in 2018 and was brought on board in summer 2019 to coordinate the summer camps, Project Access summer camps, and it was awesome. Worked with some great Native teachers in providing that program. But we do provide summer STEM camps that focus on career and technical education, again, that career piece, and allied health. Some of the camps that we will be offering this summer are forensics. We'll do a camp scrubs, and most of these will take field trips as well. We'll have a robotics camp, space camp. We'll have a science comes to life camp, game development and networking, and Robco bots engineering camp. We do use certified teachers, certified Native teachers, and of course, experienced staff to help us with these summer camps. As Ms. Rita mentioned before, we do provide STEM days for grades 8th and 9th grade, STEM day, and a festival that we call for our 8th and 9th graders to come to the campus. And we have a whole full day of programming, sharing breakout sessions, STEM activities for those students. One of the big pieces of our grant is the dual enrollment in college courses for high school students, CCP, college and career, promise courses. And this gives our students, our high school students, the opportunity to earn college credits while still in high school. And this has been an absolute awesome, fantastic thing for our public schools to be involved in. Give you an example, my niece attended NC State University, and when she went to NC State, she already had about 38 community college credits completed when she started at NC State. And all of those were through this dual enrollment in college course for high school students effort. So it's all free. It's all free for the students. And one of the things the grant has, Project 3C grant has been able to do with that is to purchase the textbooks and provide the transportation for those students leaving the high schools to come to the community college campus to take those courses. And if you know anything about textbooks, they are extremely expensive. Having worked at the community college, there were times that the textbooks ended up costing more than the course itself. So that has been an absolute blessing for our high school students to be able to do. So Robeson Community College has been an excellent partner. This picture you see of this young man, and I did get the waiver signed, Olani. This is Malik, and he's actually doing one of his activities that he picked up virtually. And you can't really see the screen that well, but it is being teacher directed, and he's getting directions and help from the teacher on how to complete that activity. And that happened during our virtual, during the pandemic shutdown, when we went into virtual mode with all of our programming.
The dual enrollment piece, many of our students were not taking advantage of this career and college promise courses. When we started this grant, I think there were 90 some students maybe in our whole district. We have a large district that were participating, and we tripled that number of Native students. The big thing was speaking to their parents, helping the parents understand why this is important for them, what the savings would be for them. And not only could they take these courses online, but they could still take their regular high school courses and move out of that high school with a semester or more credits for college without having to pay for that. So that's been a great piece for us. And we want to continue that relationship with the community college to provide those. Next slide.
Our third partnership, of course, has been the public schools of Robeson County. That's where most of our students do reside. We do work closely with 4 districts. That's part of our grant. Cumberland, Hope, Robeson, Scotland do receive services from Project 3C. Our programming staff work diligently with our 4 school districts throughout the school year. Not just summer programming, but throughout the school year to provide meaningful STEM opportunities for our Native students. Our staff attend parent nights at the schools. They go to community events to share information about Project 3C events that are going on. And one of our grant objectives is to provide culturally responsive STEM training, and that was on one of the other slides that Ms. Rita mentioned, to our public school teachers in the areas of math and science that teach in the schools that predominantly have a large Native population, and they may be experiencing low test scores. So that's one of the things that we have been able to do as well, and we've been able to do it virtually and in person. We also work very closely with our Title VI Indian education programs. We depend on Indian education YDS, which are our youth development specialists, because they are working directly with the Native youth in the schools. We depend on them to help us share the grant information, and because they are working with these students daily. And this relationship has proven to be invaluable, because they are a valuable link for us. We also pride ourselves in contracting, as Ms. Rita said before, American Indian teachers from our 4 county districts to provide our STEM program. And we think this adds a lot of depth to the efforts of our grant, because the children actually see people that they relate to. Next slide, please.
Before I move to the next slide, Kelly was asking a question about
Okay.
camp scrubs. Wanting to get more information, what ages participate in that, and let me see if I see the second part of the question. Yeah, what age groups participate in that program?
Camp Scrubs is our high school allied health camp. Because it's housed at the community college, the students get to be involved with 4 different types of medical areas. So the nursing is one of those, respiratory therapy,
Radiography.
radiology. What was the
And
4th?
EMS.
EMS, right. So the kids get that opportunity. They rotate daily to a different program. And the professors, the teachers there that are in those programs, they're in their labs, they're listening to the teachers. And part of that camp, we partnered with one of our hospitals, and they went to the hospital for the day. They heard from hospital administrators. They were placed in different locations within the hospital, got a chance to work side by side, stand side by side with some of the physicians that were working there, and moved about in the hospital for a half a day. And then we came back from lunch. They provided lunch for us. And then the students heard from, again, different professionals that they had not had a chance to see. We got a little worried because one of the kids was missing after we got back, and we had to track her down, and she was watching eye surgery and with one of the physicians, and we let her stay there as long as she needed to, so she got a chance to experience that. But the hospital was again great for us to have that opportunity. So that is about a medical program, and because we partnered with the community college, we wanted to shine them a little bit in the light, let people see what they can find right here that's locally and within a reasonable expense, careers that are out there for them.
And just to chime in, having been part of the camp coordination process when I was there, Camp Scrubs filled up really fast, and we had a waiting list. Everybody wanted to do Camp Scrubs.
Thank you. Thanks for taking that question, and I'll get back to your presentation.
Okay. And we know we're limited with time. You also can see here one of our projects that was an at-home virtual project. The kit was ordered for the students. It's an engineering piece, but we also had engineers that were talking with the students, and they had already heard from some of those earlier in the camp. And then this was one of the kits that they were able to put together, follow directions along with the teacher, and utilize that. So that is some sort of a crane, I think, but they studied all of that. And again, they sent pictures back, videos back of all their activities so we could see them. We couldn't visit them, but we could see them online with that. And if you want to view any of that, we have a website at the university. It's called, at the UNCP University, it's called Project 3C, and a lot of those, you may be able to see some of those online there. As we looked at our assessment, we wanted to know what kind of impact we were making in some of the areas. So we did pre and post surveys with our students at the end of before and after their camps and their activities that they did. We also looked at that participation rate with the dual enrollment. And as we continued to see the increase in that, we had staff members. Part of our grant was to provide staff members to go out to the schools to work with our American Indian students, to recruit them into those courses and classes that they were going to need. So that worked out really well. Those numbers were great. We expanded the services, as you see, from 4 partners originally to the partners, and I think we're somewhere up to 16, what we considered full partnership. And then we continue to monitor the parent and community expectations. We did a needs assessment with them in that second grant, and we will probably begin looking at a needs assessment now as we're working with one of the ACE grants, because we want to continually get feedback from the parent about what their expectations will be. Next slide.
So you may ask, what have we learned? Lessons learned. Partnerships do take time. I noticed when I came on board, Project 3C had already been going for a couple of years, and there were they started out with 4 partnerships, which were, our big partners, and we just kept adding to that. You ask, you reach out, you research, you look, and so those partnerships do take time to develop. And it doesn't happen overnight. So don't get frustrated. You ask, you keep asking till you get a response. Staff is necessary to the life of the grant. We have experienced that firsthand. Ms. Rita and I can attest to that. Both of our partners, Robeson Community College and the University of North Carolina, we experienced staff turnover. And you might say, why? Well, it's a grant. It's going to end in a few months. And, we were not mad at them because they were looking for opportunities to continue employment. But staff is very, very important to the life of your grant, to keep those people who know how programming should work and what it looks like, and are enthusiastic about it. Provide quality programs that look and feel different than school. That's major important. I have a 9-year-old granddaughter, and I share these stories with Ms. Rita all the time, that, I tell her that I'm going to sign her up for a Project 3C activity. And she says, but Gigi, I've already been in school too much. I'm tired. But I have to convince her that it's going to be different from school. It's going to be fun and exciting and engaging and hands-on. And then, of course, she does it, and she happens to love it. Miss Rita may not share this with you, but I will. This little fella you see here with this big, huge smile, that is her grandson. And you can tell he's enjoying this programming that he's done with his terrarium. Miss Rita?
So we too, as parents and grandparents, push every program we can push. My husband said, you see them in the grocery store and you're talking about these programs, and that's the truth. We have great opportunities, and we want as many students as possible to participate in that. So we're very concerned about providing these opportunities for the students, and we want them to look different than school. We want them to be very active. We want them to learn about their culture and history as they look at these different activities that they're doing. So we try to make sure that's definitely embedded into those programs. So again, it doesn't look like a regular school program. They're seeing STEM in a different way because our native piece has been embedded in that. And it's so much more hands-on than they're ever going to be able to do in their school. We want to, again, reach out. We've learned over the years to reach out to those American Indian leaders, teachers, businesses, companies to get involved. And I will tell you, I don't think I have called and contacted anyone that has said no. Every person that I've asked to, will you be able to do this for me? And they said yes. So we certainly have a wealth of information you do in your own communities that you can tap into and make sure that you do that. And again, with the technology, we've learned that we can go all over America, all over the United States to speak with some of our own people. So that's a resource we didn't even know we had. So I wanted to go back to some of the things that we were, the purpose of Native STEM. And when we looked at this grant, we definitely tried to break down the stereotypes and increase the representation of our students that were moving into STEM fields. The girls, we wanted to look at that. We wanted them to think about medical careers and those science careers. We wanted them to look at technology. The guys at Microsoft and Verizon are telling us we need people to work in these jobs, but we certainly need Native people. And they're telling those students, if you go through school, we can help you find a job. We want you to mentor with us. We want you to come and do internships with us. So those are pieces we're sharing with them as well. And then, of course, prepare them for, to be those future leaders and getting them through college, helping them understand these careers that are out there through the community college and the universities. Those are future careers for them. We want them there, and we let them know how it's going to look in 5 to 10 years. Through the Department of Labor, you can share that with them and show them the statistics about the jobs and careers that will be there. And of course, broaden their interpretation of STEM or STEAM to include traditional practices, as we've tried to do that in the services that we've provided. So we hope, if there's any questions, Ms. Alani, we will be glad to answer those at this time.
Yes, there actually are some questions. Let me just get to the chat. Definitely comments about great presentation, lots of support, great photo. There's a question, approximately how many students receive services within the 4 districts?
Oh, hundreds of students are receiving services through our district. I don't know that I've actually sat down and counted every camp and every program. We typically do that individually, but with our camps, like our camps for this summer, the maximum would be 25 students. And we're doing, is it 6 over at RCC this summer, Gwen?
8. They're proposing to do 8 summer camps at
Yeah,
RCC.
we had some additional funding. So if you look at that with 25 students in each one of those, the university has 4 camps that they're doing. Again, that's a max of 25 we're doing there. The programs at the community college, the school, we can run from 160 students a semester to 300. And sometimes we've had up to 300 and some students being served through our textbooks, transportation, and with our staff that's recruiting the students to the program. So that's just a few. Club iSTEM, all of the other programs, I haven't counted. Teachers, we've served the public schools of Robeson County teachers when we did the culturally responsive STEM training in math and science. That could have been a whole grade level of teachers. And that might have been 200 teachers that we served with that. So it's a large number all across. And again, we haven't added it, but it's a fairly large number of people and students.
Awesome. Also, there's some comments about quality programs that look and feel different from school. That's the crux of engagement, especially if the school experience is not culturally responsive and is not hands-on.
Success, yes.
Absolutely.
And let's see, and there's some agreement to that thought. One other question: how will you move towards creating STEM through our female lens?
Through our female lens. So
Yeah.
I mentioned that we have that grade 6 through 8 girls STEM program. That is something that even when we look at programming, whether it's camps or other programming that we do, we are trying to make sure that our girls are enrolling in the correct courses over at the community college. When they take those college courses, we want to make sure they're enrolling in those math courses that they're going to need and those science courses that they're needing. So we try to encourage that as we're helping them with that, because we provided 2 people there to help enroll students in the program. So that's important to us. And as we've done the IBM, all the camps that we've done, we've really tried to make sure that we've tried to be fair and as equal as we could in allowing our girls to come in. You know, we even can wait a little bit sometimes and try to encourage more of the girls to get in, because there are some of the camps that the boys are naturally attracted to. But just as we see nursing, there's sometimes you can't get the boys in nursing or some of those medical camps either. So as much as we can, and that specific girls camp for 6th through 8th grade has been a very popular program. And I think that was one of the ways we could encourage our females to go into that and bringing those back. We're going to be doing those again this summer, and a great lineup of females that will be coming in to speak to the students. So continuing to push in that direction with those middle school students.
Great. Thanks for answering that question. There doesn't seem to be, like, I think you answered this question already about how many students participate in the camps. A lot. I think was your response. A whole bunch, as well as all of your other programs. Again, you can see there's some links and some attachments in the files tab. People saying, you know, again, supporting, wonderful presentation. If there aren't any other questions, ladies, did you have any final words that you wanted to share?
Just thanking the Office of Indian Ed for being supportive of our programs, and just doing this, sharing and allowing us to see other programs that are out there. The piece that you did before, the California group, that was amazing. And it's great to see that kind of work. It always gives us great ideas to come back with, think about things that we haven't done. So I want to thank the Office of Indian Ed for giving us this opportunity. It's been a great opportunity to not only to work with our boys and girls in our area, but to work with some of the best team that we have there, that always willing to get on the call and help us walk through the things that we need to do in order to provide these grants to our boys and girls. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And if there are any that are listening and they want to reach out to us and ask any additional questions about any of our programming, you see our emails provided, please do so. Thank you.
Again, thank you to our presenters. And Marley, we're sad she couldn't be able to make it today, but she provided some really good information. You folks all have a wonderful day, and we're off to our next session. Aloha.
Y'all, see you later.
Thank you. Thank you.